Hello. One of these days. Maybe. Let me know. We're just going to sit here and kind of get an idea on whether or not anybody can hear me. I apologize. I know I kept a lot of people waiting. So basically, as always, I don't know. For whatever reason, running this camera and like the streams and all the things, it may be the one part of tech that really just eludes me. So, yeah, that's it. That is what happened. So I apologize. I saw a couple of people were here when I, was supposed to be here like an hour ago before my computer needed to restart like 35 times. I'm not really sure why, but it is what it is. Let's see. Hey. Okay. Michelle's. Hello. I was just going to be whenever I was trying, I thought everything was going to go just fine. And then I was going to pull up your newest video. And then everything just kind of showed me that even when I change the settings, it's not working. So what's going to happen is basically this camera still wants to do its whole weird ring light thing. I don't understand it. I tried to turn it off. I changed all the settings. I'm not going to argue with it. And this hair is in my way. So we're just going to clip it there. Hey, Evie. So, all right. And the good thing is that there were a couple of people that said that they were sad that they couldn't make it when I initially had it scheduled for. So the good thing is I told them it'll be on replay like always. So let's see. I'm just checking a couple of things real quick. How is everybody tonight? Doing good, I hope. So this week I'm going to attempt to stream a couple of times just because it's a very, very special week to myself. Hey, Lulu. How are you? This week is like, it's one of those weeks that every year, actually the whole month, is Endometriosis Awareness. Now, a lot of people know what it is, but then they don't quite know what it is. Most people know somebody with it. There are, I think at last count, and I was on the website today and I wrote it down. Let's see. 100, as of right now, 176 million women are afflicted. So it's a pretty important situation as far as it's really close to me. So basically I'm going to share with you kind of my journey with the whole thing. And then where did that go? You're in the process of being diagnosed yourself. It's at least you're in the process of being diagnosed at this point. I know for me, which, yeah, it's been a long time as far as when I was diagnosed, when I went through treatments, and then when I was when I went through surgery. So I really really hope that they can kind of get you under control, get all of your symptoms taken care of, because believe me, I feel for you there. While I'm talking, just because it's kind of what I do anyways, while I'm talking, I'm just going to throw some eye makeup on. The color of the ribbon, like the banner had said, the color of the awareness ribbon is yellow. And yellow is used for a lot of different things, but it's also specifically, in our case, it's used for endometriosis. I have listed a ton of links, a lot of the information that I have found, a lot of the places that my doctors have kind of directed me to throughout the years. That's all going to be in the description bar. My DMs are always open. You can reach out. I'll even throw in an email address, because the one thing that I think, as far as being somebody that went through endometriosis and much more, I think the one thing that it has given me is this urge to make sure that other people either don't go through the same thing that I did for as long as I did, or to just basically make sure that people are more aware. I think that's the biggest thing, because it's bad. It can be bad. It can be hard to get any kind of information from anybody. People don't know about it even still. So for example, just to kind of explain like where I'm coming from. So I was diagnosed initially when I was 15. Now I'm 37 now. I began having problems. It was a little bit complicated. I'm using today, I'll use the Raw Beauty Kirsty and Pure palette. And then I'm going to use the Honey palette by ColourPop. But for the most part, like I'll put what I use in the description as far as makeup goes, but I'll get too distracted, like showing everything at the time. So I'm just going to kind of talk and toss it on and be good. So basically, let's first explain what endometriosis is. So I pulled up the Mayo Clinic website specifically, just because they have probably the best as far as description overall. I feel like they have a lot of the information that is being given to the main website that I have linked. I feel like they get a lot of that from them. And a lot of my information has come from legitimately years 22 at this point, of having it and now dealing with the after effects. So endometriosis, basically, it says here, it's often a painful disorder, they aren't kidding, in which tissue similar to the tissue that normally lines the inside of a woman's uterus grows outside. So basically, the way I've explained it a couple of times here recently when I've spoken with people about it, and my chat is not moving, so I just want to make sure if anybody is asking anything, I'm sure it'll do something if anybody is chatting, but it's not. It's like I said, tech, apparently not my thing. So the way that I had it explained to me too was when you were younger, if you were playing in the gym at school, where you were in a gym at school, and you tripped and fell and hit your knee, or like fell on your knee and like got like almost like gym floor burn. I don't know what that's actually called, but we're going to call it gym floor burn. So when you would look at that area of your knee, the skinned knee, it had basically the top part, like the main layer of skin was kind of removed. So you could see regular skin, and then you saw like this red and like moist area. That is basically the equivalent of what happens inside of you. So that always would hurt. Obviously, it hurts if you touch it. It hurts if you, like, if anything would get on it whenever you would take like a shower or a bath and like water, soaps, anything like that. Like, it was painful because that skin didn't have that barrier on top of it. So basically with the endometriosis, it's where like your tissue that wouldn't normally be exposed to all the things gets exposed to all the things, and it's painful, and it can end up in a lot of different areas. But that is basically the easiest way to explain what exactly the main thing is. So it ends up basically, it causes like a thicker layer too, because it'll collect blood, it bleeds. It's just really, really painful. And again, I'll have a list of like symptoms. We can we'll go through them. And I want to talk about this as much as possible, specifically this month, but always have no problems. I'll answer any questions. There are none that are too important. Also, I apologize because Lily, her medicine apparently has not kicked in yet, because she is acting like it's the end of the world for her. So I apologize if you hear her panting. I don't know what her deal is. So let me pull this up. Hey, Tina, cleaning also. Perfect. Yes. Okay. I was like, oh, I think it's broken. And, that would have been just perfect, right? So anyways, the time frame that endometriosis normally, Lily, Jenny, leave her alone. Leave your sister alone, please. Okay. So the time frame that the endometriosis can show up, it varies. There are a couple of different types. There are a couple of different like levels as far, but for the most part, it will affect women during their like reproductive years. For me, that started extremely early. I believe it was, I want to say the first time I was like 9, but then it was very like hit or miss. 1, maybe 2, 3, 4 between then and like 11. And 11, that was when things were supposed to be becoming more regular. But unfortunately, mine never really did. So eventually around, I was like 13 or 14. And my mom finally, after talking to friends and everything, I was always in a lot of pain. I always had really bad cramps whenever I did. But then the biggest thing is that I wouldn't have any cycle at all. So at one point in time, it was a big deal because I want to say I went for like 8 months with nothing. And of course, my mom thinking how moms normally do, like, what are you doing? She made me an appointment with her doctor. So we went in and we were talking to the doctor, and they had me do a pregnancy test to make sure, which again, I wasn't doing anything, but just to confirm. Stranger things have happened, I guess. So they did the pregnancy test, and the doctor was like, well, that's odd. I want to run a couple more tests. So one of the tests that they had run, they did an ultrasound, both internal and external. Didn't find anything really, but she wanted to do a CT scan on me. So my mom took me to the hospital, and I had to do this CT scan where they went in and just kind of like, I think they did like my entire abdomen, because we just couldn't figure out what exactly was going on. I'm gonna pause for just a second. It's pixelated. Let me try something. Okay. Is that any better? I'm hoping that it's not like a connection thing for me. Shouldn't be, but everything else is going wrong today, so I don't want to have to. And it's only the camera feed. Banner was crystal clear. Is it still like that, Evie? We're going to try something then. Let's see. Such an important stream. And of course, it has to be the one with all the issues. Because why wouldn't it be? Ugh. All right, let me see if I can leave and come back in, see if that works. I'm sorry, guys. Are we better now? No, that's fine, Evie. That's fine. I want to know. I would rather, you know what I mean? Because if that's the case, like if it was going to be that bad, then I would have just gone, I would have turned off the camera altogether if it's not going to get fixed. I would much rather do that than not have it. Much better. Okay. I just took it down for the 85th time. So, you know what? If it works, right? That's all that matters. Okay, and clear. Yeah, it was pixelated for me too, but now it's just black. Okay. Good deal, good deal. And clear. Thank goodness. Much better. All right. I have done everything. I was on the phone earlier with with Logitech. So I don't know. I'm gonna because I redid this, I need to move myself over a little bit, move myself out, not that much. Okay. Much better. We'll sit down and really look into it. Yeah, it's something to do with the software, but then the gaming software that they were trying to use, it wasn't working, but that's okay. Okay. So now I lost my thought. Yeah, it's something about gaming software, but it wasn't picking up my camera. It was weird. I have the links that they sent me, and they said that I was like, I don't have time for this. I have no patience for things like that, especially not whenever, like, it really should work, and I really should be able to turn off the ring light that's built in if I have more than enough light. So we'll be fine. We'll figure it out this week. We can sit down and do a million fake streams and try and figure it out. Okay. So let's see. Starting over as far as starting from where I was. Got a CT scan. Yes. So I had a so we had the ultrasounds. Those came back with nothing really that made any sense at all. And then they sent me for a CT scan. And again, I'm only 14 at the time, but we had been dealing with a couple of things. Like, I was really tired all the time. My mom, obviously whenever I would sleep in, she, she just thought that it was more like I was up all night. It's not like I had a cell phone where I was on my phone all night or anything, because this was in 1998. And yeah, so that, that's that. But so we went to the hospital, got the CT scan done, and I want to say probably within 24 hours, we had gotten a call saying we needed to come back into the office. So I remember my mom being very concerned and upset about everything. And I was just kind of confused because it didn't make any sense to me. That my biggest fear was at that point, they were going to tell me somehow that something was missing. And that's why I was in pain. That's why I didn't have regular cycles. All these weird things went through my head, because if you have had the pleasure or the displeasure of dealing with me for any period of time, you know that this headspace, it is all kinds of all over the place. So imagine not knowing why your doctor is calling you and telling you to come right back in. So we go in to the office, and they told us at that point in time that on the CT scan that there was calcification, that they needed to do a surgery, and that it was either on it was in the area of my right ovary. Right ovary? I'll be honest with you, it's so long ago. It was on one of them. We'll put it this way. It doesn't matter which one it was on, but it was on one of them. So the doctor needed to go in. She told my mom, like, we need to go in and we need to find out what the calcification is, send it out for biopsy, do all the things. So they scheduled me for surgery like right away too. It wasn't a situation where they like waited around for too long. And I had to go in for what we thought was just going to be a regular like laparoscopic surgery. Well, apparently while they were in there, they found that the calcification ended up being what they call a dermoid cyst. And if you know what a dermoid cyst is, then you will understand a lot better the calcification. As far as what it actually is, and this is kind of like, and I figure that everybody should have known this just because of the beginning part of this conversation, but like, don't eat or anything. Like, you can like don't snack during this video. But, and also it kind of made my like crazy fears kind of come true. So a dermoid cyst is a whole nother ball game that we weren't expecting. We were expecting some kind of a random, like, little tiny growth. Well, it turned out I had what they diagnosed me with as polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS for short. The calcification that they had found on my CT scan turned out to be because inside of my ovary, not on it, not around it, not under it, in it, was I guess it was kind of like a balloon that had things like a tooth, blonde hair, chippings, like bone fragments, and what was the other thing? I feel like fingernail, like something or another. So theory on that, they have a bunch of them back then, especially where I was and my doctor, like they had just pulled somebody down from the next closest city, and like they made my mom sign a paper. Apparently the cyst went into some like school book somewhere. I don't know. They had to give them because it was just they weren't, I don't know if they are now, but they were not as common as, they were definitely not common at all back then. So they had to go and ask my mom, because what ended up happening was I ended up having to have that entire ovary removed because it was the size of a cantaloupe. So that's the funny thing, is that is a theory, is that I was a twin. Basically, my mom, her big joke is I was a twin and I didn't want to share any attention. So because of that, I decided to absorb the other twin, and it got trapped basically, and it was in my ovary. That's one of the more prevalent theories now. Back then, they were just kind of like, I don't know. People were really baffled by it. And now, like looking back now, I have no idea if it was just that first doctor that ended up being an idiot anyways, or if it was just that they really aren't that common, or that hospital hadn't had it. I know someone that had happened to, and she had actually, it was, whenever I've talked to people about it before, like whenever I do searches online, there are, I mean, dermoid cysts in general, they can, apparently there are a bunch of different places that they can go. But the one that I had, because it was an ovarian one, the biggest thing is that if they would have like left that in there, they can cause cancer. They can cause torsion where like your ovary like kind of like gets twisted in there, which can cause a lot of issues. So it was like really important once they saw what was going on to like get it out of there. So my mom gave them permission to go ahead, and by the time I was 15, I was down an ovary. I was on full-time 24 or not 24/7, but continuous birth control because my polycystic was so bad. That was the reason for instance, why, like, even if I put on just a little bit of weight, I couldn't take it off. Like, it didn't matter if I was active or not. I was tired a lot. It caused things like, now granted, I'm Greek, so things like facial hair, like a slight mustache, that kind of stuff is like normal. But like the polycystic, they put me on a medicine called spironolactone that blocks, and it would help with like acne was really bad, any excess hair growth, things like that, because with the PCOS your body almost goes, it's almost as if you have like overdrive of testosterone, and it causes a lot of different problems. It's a hormonal disorder, but it again can cause fluid, like cysts that are fluid. It can cause things like my dermoid cysts. It can, because of the fact that it causes insulin resistance, it can also lead to things like people getting diabetes. But with that elevation of the androgen, not the testosterone, with the elevation of the androgen, that is where things like people can lose, like women can have, even when young, can have like start going bald and have thinning, things like that. And they put me on a combination of the metformin, which is, oh, that's a bitch of a drug. But that's basically to help with your sugar. And then they added the spironolactone until we realized I was allergic to it. But they added that to it as well, on top of the like continuous cycle of birth control, where they skipped all the cycles and everything because it was really bad. The main issue that I had, though, was that even after having, so they were under the impression that the dermoid cyst was causing the pain. It was not, because after that had been removed, within 4 to 5 months, I was in pain again. And by that time, I turned 15. I was really getting frustrated. I had been in and out of the hospital throughout the time that I was probably, I don't know, like 11, maybe 12 on until 15. Anytime I would get stressed out, basically. So if I would, an angsty teen. So if I would get into any kind of argument with my parents, if I had a test, if I fought with a boyfriend, if there was this, if there was that, all of the things, basically, anytime I was put under stress, I would be doubled over in pain. Didn't matter what time of the month it was. I would be doubled over in pain. I would be, the only way I remember this like it was yesterday, unfortunately, the only way I could get myself, like get it to not hurt was to take like my hand and almost like right in the side, like right in my side, I would like kind of push my fingers like into my stomach, just kind of like hold it like that. And I remember like the doctors being like, you're probably hurting yourself. I'm like, no, I don't know why, but it almost like relieved the pressure. But they would give me pain medicine. They would give me, like at the hospital, they would give me like a shot of something or another. And in puberty is already a nightmare. And then to have to deal with health issues and then surgery while just going through normal stuff. Yeah. So, it really did become almost what I felt like, unfortunately, was like almost like an identity. Like there's like Ashley's going to go, like we're going to have to go to the hospital again or something. So I had gotten irritated and I was at work. I was at my mom's work and waiting for her to get off of work. And one of her coworkers had asked, well, did you knock something over? Sorry, Doodle. One of her coworkers had asked like how I was doing basically. And when I told her, let me grab down here because I knew I had these. I have these Super Shocks. So this one's glow stick. Come on. See? Okay. And this one is, here we go again. And it's like a really pretty gold. So I figure I'll grab that out. But yeah, so she'd asked me like, are you okay? How things going? And this, that, and the other. And I just told her, I was like, no, I'm still miserable, still in the hospital all the time. Don't know why, like none of the treatments. There we go. Right here. Thank you. Yeah, none of the treatments were working. And I was just kind of like venting to her. And she told me that there was a new doctor at the hospital. There was a new OBGYN, but that she was amazing and much better than my doctor and all of these things. So I looked at my mom and said, I'm done dealing with this, with this lady. I want to go to this new, I don't know why I always try for the first time. I always forget that it's better to put these Super Shocks on with a finger than it is to put them on with a brush. So, I had like told my mom, I was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to deal with this lady. I want to go to the new lady that has the new office, try her out because this one just isn't helping. And I'm still in pain. I'm still spending too much time in the hospital for at the time, 15, almost 16-year-old. And I was already getting fed up with the fact that like, I wasn't having like my teenage years weren't a thing because I was spending so much time on like really strong medicines because I was in the hospital or I was in pain. And it ruined a lot of exciting things. So my mom was like, okay, that's fine. You want to go? We'll go. Made me an appointment. We go there for the first appointment. They had I think they did an ultrasound again because why not? Everybody wants to do ultrasounds. So they did the ultrasound again. She had gotten all my records already. And after talking to me, she said, for the first time, she had said, have you ever been told you have endometriosis? And I remember like looking at her and looking at my mom, like, I don't know that word. I have no clue what this lady is. I was like, no. I was like, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Like, you know, because I'm 15 and so smart. So I'm like, no. I'm like, I have PCOS. And she's like, yeah, I get that. But do you, like, has anybody ever told you that you might have endometriosis? I was like, I don't think so. I was like, I've never heard it. My mom hadn't heard it. My mom didn't have it. So when she had done the sonogram, she saw something weird. She sent me for, because God forbid I would ever have tests with it, wouldn't come back weird. This still continues as I'm 37, by the way. All things come back weird or normal, but there's still something wrong. Explain that one to me. So they sent me to they had done an x-ray and she was like, what is going on? She pulled up the surgical records, and apparently the first doctor had taken a staple gun and like just basically like stapled off my like fallopian tube and left it in there. So she was like, well, shit, no wonder you're in pain. That like they left all those staples in there. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll schedule. Fiance just said that sounds familiar. Which part? All of it? She had sent me all about the tests. Oh yeah. About tests coming back like normal but not normal, or tests coming back with something odd that just doesn't make sense. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. Definitely is. Yeah, not the staples part. Yeah, no, that doesn't sound familiar to a lot of people. That is called apparently depending on where you're trained to be a surgeon, you are taught certain techniques, or were taught certain techniques. Mind you, I'm 37. The woman that did that surgery delivered me. So she had been the staples were the same kind of staples that I have in my ankle when they reconstructed my ankle in high school. So it wasn't like they left them in there on accident. That was, according to my new doctor, that was like a technique, basically. It wasn't like they left a tool in you or something like that. Yeah. That's been the story of my life. Yeah, no, and you would think, however, because it was a possibility, like that was a way that people did that. No, they were like surgical staples that, like, for instance, in my ankle, whenever they rebuilt it, yeah, no, it's not. It's still not good. Like people don't do that anymore. They really should, I guess, didn't do it very frequently in this country at all here back then. However, if you're trained elsewhere, you kind of do what they say, or like do what they do. But because it was a technique, there was no, you know what I mean? While it's weird, it would be no different than saying, like, just basically if your dentist filled a, I don't know, not a dentist. Okay. So if you need stitches and your one doctor is like, well, we're going to put staples in the stitch, or the other doctor was like, we're going to sew the stitch, and the other doctor was like, liquid Band-Aid. All kinds of different ways. So because of that, there was like really nothing that we could have done. We had no thing. And honestly, at that point, I was just, I believe so. I'm not sure where exactly. But I know it was in the Middle East where she was from. Stapling organs like their paper. Yeah, basically it was that was about it. She said, like, basically I have no water up here to spray you with. What is going on? Where's my water bottle? Hold on. There apparently are people outside. So anyways, so yeah. Yeah. So like the titanium staples and all that they would use anywhere else, girls, really enough. Chill out. Go lay down. So it's basically the equivalent of taking a, can you guys stop? Oh my gosh. Hold on. We just went and I just got pretzels. Yes, water bottle. If you put it on the like, not the like, if you put it on like the straight up, yeah, called the bad kitty bottle. I have them usually in every room. I think for some reason we still needed the one. So instead I'm going to distract them with their little treats here, Lil, and then we'll go from there. Okay, here. Thank you. Okay, go lay down now. They're gone. The people are gone. Everything's good. All's good in the hood. So yeah, so they had left. It's like she left the staples like stapling a piece of ribbon, like a really thin piece of ribbon. And then she just, I don't know. So anyway, so not important. The doctor that I had gone to, she went in and she removed the bunch of staples. I think it was like 23 she removed. So she removed the staples from there. She also, though, found endometriosis and found it everywhere. I was diagnosed with stage 4 endometriosis, and then I believe that was also when the adenomyosis, which is when it's like the sister of endometriosis. So that one can grow on the muscular wall of the uterus, and everything continues as needed, but it can also cause severe cramping and heavy bleeding and all of the things there. So because she was in there, she went in and talked to my mom again. It's called adenomyosis. I'll have these links in there too. Let me type it in there. Adenomyosis. You put, of course. Why must you do this to me? Am I gone again? Nope. Am I gone? Control D. Girls, come on. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So the staging is kind of like, I have a feeling I'm missing again. So the stages depend on where and how. That's why the endodiagnosis. Yeah. So endodiagnoses are hard in general for many reasons. A, there's not a whole lot of information out there in general. Basically, very little. The biggest issue is there's no data. And a lot of doctors, especially back in the 90s and the early 2000s, they were not documenting things back in the 80s. And before that, it was almost unheard of to have it because everybody, basically, all the women got told, you're just having cramps, basically. And I don't know how many doctors I had gone to throughout the time that I was there or that I was dealing with this full blown. I don't know how many doctors legitimately looked at me like I was looking for pain medicine or something. Mind you, again, please remember, I am 15. I am 16. At 16, I had basically as much they were giving me, because none of the treatments that were working, because for the endo, they put you on a lot of like estrogen blockers because it can feed it. They put me on, I tried 15 months of Lupron, which is a shot that puts you into like pharmaceutical menopause. Nothing worked. Okay, good. Yeah, see, and that's the thing. Had I not, yeah, it's just a women's issue. So with this specifically, so when people are like, oh my God, I can't believe she left those staples in you. All I keep thinking is, thank God she left those staples in me, because maybe they would have taken even longer to do a like laparoscopic diagnostic, which is still, mind you, again, I was going through this in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s. Even now, 22 years later, from the time I was first diagnosed around 15 to now, the only way to have it diagnosed for certain is a diagnostic laparoscopic surgery, where they go in. They can do all of the, they can do the scans, they can do MRIs, they can do CT scans, they can do ultrasounds. When they're doing all those tests, they're basically ruling out all the other things. And it's almost as if endo is the new like fibro. Only if you do a surgery, you can find it. But if you haven't had a surgery and your doctor is doing it, but then not treating you for it, that's where, there's just a lot. There's no data. So like the doctors like mine who treated me from 15 to 20, they didn't keep enough. Like those doctors back then, they were just kind of saying like, we are diagnosing it. They were prescribing medications, again, constant birth controls. They were doing hormonal blocks. So the Lupron that I was on that. I was on the Provera pill, which is the pill version of the Depo-Provera. They tried that. They tried that mixed with another pill. I was on a chemotherapy drug at one point. I had laparoscopic. It was just a nightmare. They removed scar tissue, but said it wasn't endo, and then gave me nothing after, no info or anything. Oh, I'm hoping, especially in that case, in cases like that, the information that that I have linked and that I will have linked as well, and then anything else I can find for you, I'm hoping that will help you find a doctor who is for sure going to like understand more or knows what to look for, because there are specialists that are out there for it. They're just difficult to find. It says I only have one floating ovary. I have an appointment on the 18th with the doctor who did my surgery to hopefully get checked again. Yeah, I had my hysterectomy 5 years ago. I had been through nearly 20 surgeries from the time I was 14 until I was 20. I had all of the times that the doctor would do like laser treatments, because they can go in and they can like laser off all the bad. But every time they do that, they go in laparoscopically. It causes more scar tissue, which then gives you issues with bleeding and all the things. But that can cause a bit of time basically where you almost feel normal. So going in and checking on it. But like when she came out, like whenever I was 15, when she came, she said that I had the stage 4 endo and adeno. She was using words like you were polluted. It was everywhere. Intestines, bowel, bladder. I thought I had my phone like elsewhere. Sorry. I'm just throwing things now. That's what I do. Oh, nope, dropped it. Sorry. Okay. I also started working with an amazing guy this past week. Oddly enough, I had an initial doctor's appointment with them. Then 2 months later, got a job there. Oh, that's so exciting. You know what? That might be all for a reason. I really do believe that everything happens for a reason. No matter how awful it is, I know it sucks. I don't understand it for the most part, but I do believe everything happens for a reason. And I'm really hoping that that doctor, if they're not as like well versed as they could be, or they, it would be great if they were, hopefully they have a network that they can kind of utilize to get you into somebody that will help you, because the biggest thing is the delay, the lack of treatment, all of those things. So the other thing though that goes along with endo, that at 15, 16, 17, you don't expect to have to discuss, you don't expect to have to worry about, is having to talk about the fact that you will be, you're either going to be completely infertile and unable to have children of your own at all. It will be extremely difficult. You will be high risk for things like miscarrying of, what was the other one? You're also high risk basically then for cancers, different cancers that they have. But they, told me a lot of those things. So let me see. There are actually 4 gynos there I feel good about that I delayed treatment because of the cost with them. Yeah, it is. And I think the biggest problem is honestly the lack of information, the fact that pain is subjective anyway. So anytime anybody has any chronic pain issue, they know. Like you'll know automatically, what that's like. I just started learning about adenomyosis. I have fibromyalgia. Yeah. And it is, like I said, it's a whole new world that people don't know about. or the, like they should. So one of the reasons actually that I have even gotten to know most of you is because way back when I was doing just, I'm always researching something at this point, especially with endometriosis. I had come across Tati that way too. Like she had kept coming up in my things because that's something that her family deals with. So it was pretty, it's pretty roundabout that that was one of the things that kind of led me to like YouTube channels and the reviews and all that, because I was looking for information. I always look for information everywhere. So YouTube was just another place that I was hunting for information on research. So after I had treatment, now please remember, and I should have put this up as a warning or a like I should have made a banner, like a steady banner at the bottom, but always remember everybody's different. So what happened to me may have been way more complicated, for instance, than like you would end up having or that somebody else would. I can say for, I believe that's how I had found Tati now that I think about it, because I wasn't around the beauty channels before then. Yeah, her sister, Nurse Erica, the other sister, Frap. I know all three of them deal with it. They've been extremely vocal. I'm actually really sad that all this is going on and that she's off, like basically offline and keeping away specifically for this week, because I know that this was always a really important week for the whole family. Like the whole family would participate in like different, whether it was like a social media campaign or speaking. I think I saw, it was last year. I think last year, or the year before that, there was like a campaign or a not a campaign, a convention in Seattle, and I want to say that she might even have spoken at it, but they were always real vocal and active on social media when it came to it. The other thing, I put a couple of Twitter handles in the description already as well for different accounts that you can use. But like, so I was from 15 on, I keep getting distracted, and I even spent time and like really broke this down, but everything just kind of went wrong today. But I was diagnosed when I was 15. They put me on the birth control. They did the Lupron. They did, there was a chemotherapy drug that I could not find the name of, but I think it was one of those, like it's an off-label use that they were using it for all the way through my senior year in high school, my freshman year in college, and my sophomore year in college. And those 2 years, I spent more time in hospitals from 15 to 20. In those 5 years, I spent more time in hospitals under observation on a pain pump. I was on, at one point in time, I was on like the Vicodin ES, is like, I think I had like 3 to 4 maybe a day. Like, and I wasn't a like big, like a big girl or anything. I was, still kind of small. I was, I'm only 5'1", 3/4, 5'2" on a day when I wear some like extra high tennis shoes. But they had, like, I was so medicated. I was getting shots all the time. I was still in pain all the time. And again, I'm going to the doctors, and the doctors at the hospitals, for instance, at the ER, for instance, they would act like I was just trying to get pain medicine. And then usually it would just take me pulling out my pain medicine that I had more than enough of for them to, or they would have to call my doctor. So we did everything basically. Whenever my sophomore year had happened and I left school, I went to my doctor and I was like, I'm done. I was like, is there anything else that we can do? Because, sorry. I said, is there anything else that's left? Anything left that we can do? I had just gone through, because like every 3 months at that point, I was getting my Lupron shot, which is that's why I'm doing multiple streams, because there's a lot. I was doing the Lupron shot every 3 months. I was doing a couple other medicines. Like I was still in pain a lot. I had missed so much of class that like I couldn't sustain a GPA to sustain my scholarships, to sustain my ability to even be a full-time student, because I ended up getting like placed on academic probation. And at that point, I think that I was just tired. I was tired of fighting. I was tired of not being able to like live. Love the eyeshadow for it. They are absolutely, the majority of this, I want to say, I don't know what really is showing up the most over here, like in the crease. I don't know if it is the dandelion color up here, or if it is like some of these down here. I think is really, it's a little bit of a mix of both, I think. But that, I still think that they should have done, or that they should have that palette as permanent. But I don't work for Pure. Brandon, you got to call him, tell him. 2 different doctors said to my mom that I was just trying to get out of school. Yep. Never mind me puking and nearly passing out from pain. Yeah. And that's where I get really mad about that kind of stuff, because men don't have that same issue. They don't go through medical procedures that are painful, extremely uncomfortable, all of the things, and get told you'll be fine, take some ibuprofen. Like, I am not I thought you had that yellow mustard color from the neutral side. Yeah, the colorful side has that bright yellow. That's why I'm like, it's really showing up there a lot. So I think it might be that one more, but the base of all of it was the other. So either way, though, it's gorgeous. But yeah, so it's kind of like, it's just one of those things where I don't understand it. I don't think I'll ever understand it. And considering everything that I've lost, considering all the things that I went through as a child. Like at the end of the day, I was a child. Like the fact that doctors would turn you away because you are saying you're in pain. Like I was in pain. I was saying I was in pain. I like, and when you're a child, at least, and I mean, times might be different now. I don't know. However, I'm not talking about today in the age of the time following like the opioid crisis. This was basically either at the beginning of it or this was before it even was a real thing. Like I said, they had no problems. Luckily enough, I will put it this way. I am extremely lucky that I don't have, I don't seem to have a incredibly like addictive personality. I don't have like any kind of issues with addiction, with any kind of substance abuse. Like I said, I was on extremely high doses and for years. It wasn't like I had gotten like surgery, was given Vicodin and then sent on my way. Like it was 4 years. I love a yellow eyeshadow look. Yeah, I like that you don't have to really, like you just have to darken up the crease a little bit and then you're good if you just find a like goldish topper or something. Like one of these is $5. Got that one. My mom never took me to the doctor for anything related to pain. Just deal with it, and here's Tylenol. And that's how my mom's parents were with her. So during all of this, my mom also, because she liked my doctor so much, she decided she was going to switch over. And my doctor had asked her at my first appointment, like, do you have endometriosis? Has anybody ever talked to you about endometriosis? It was like legitimately, I told a friend this week whenever I was talking to her, I was like, it was legitimately like, she was kind of like, have you heard of our Savior, Jesus Christ? Like, it was like she was getting ready to give us a pitch as far as everything goes when she was asking my mom all the questions about endometriosis. My mom was like, no, I don't have it. But then again, my mom also was going to the crazy lady that left the staples in me. So, you know, there's that. She now compares her ex-coworker fibromyalgia to mine. You know what? Diclofenac anti-inflammatory. That's what I thought. I thought it was Shells. I wasn't positive if it was like the right on the cusp of it, if it was at the beginning of it. I knew it wasn't in the middle of it. And I definitely know it wasn't the end of it, but I do know that like now maybe you might have to worry about a kid more. Then I don't think so. At least not, we'll put it this way. I am not going to sit here and pretend like I didn't grow up in middle class suburbia. Like I was a good kid. I got decent grades. I participated in things. I was like heads of clubs and everything. I was a good kid. Like I didn't do anything really. So like my mom knew it wasn't like I was going to try and get drugs or anything either. Men came up with hysteria, thinking that women's uteruses were fucking string and floating around, going to our fucking brains, making us crazy. Yeah, men, this is the thing I'll say about men. Some of my doctors that were men, they don't get it. But I'll be honest with you, some of them took it a lot more serious and treated me with like better pain management than the females did, because the females didn't have, like the females had their own experiences that they sometimes unfortunately will weigh people on I believe it's a generation thing. My mom never saw a doctor either, but I think that was church related. Yeah, my mom grew up with she is a first generation Greek. My papa and my yaya, my grandparents, her parents. My grandma was born here, but my papa, her dad, had come over when he was 12. So that had a lot to do with it too. There was a lack of money. There was a lack of, especially with like a lot with like my papa and a lot of the other men that he worked with and he spent time with, a lot of them were of the mindset of like, rub some dirt on it. Let's go. We got to go to work, because if they didn't go to work, then they didn't get money. And if they didn't get money, then they couldn't bring other family over. Like my aunt or my great aunt, he brought her over. So if he didn't go to work, then he couldn't have the money to send her over. It was like, it's always a thing with, so that definitely helps. Yeah, she was going to the crazy staple lady. Like I said, the crazy staple lady had actually delivered me. So she had been doing her nonsense for years. So my mom had gone, like, when my mom had gone to my appointment with her, she's like, do you have endometriosis? My mom was like, no, I don't have endometriosis. Nobody's ever said anything about it. And she's like, are you sure you don't have endometriosis? Let me tell you about it. When my mom transferred her records over there, the doctor had said, I thought you said you didn't have endometriosis. My mom was like, I don't. I'm never, like, I have some cramps, no big deal. Like, I'm like that, nothing like what my daughter has. And they apparently had found some and noted it. It was just very little. But when my mom had my little sister 9 years after she had me, they did a tubal on her to do her tubes tied surgery. And when they did, they had noted in there that there was endometriosis, but she never had any issues, never had any real issues like I did. My sister, her timeline is basically the same exact timeline as mine, adding about a year and a half or so longer that she tried other things that were available or kind of like stuck it out. But yeah, I have a 1st to 2nd degree burn on my arm right now. I'm not taking anything. Tina, you are, when you say Tina's crazy life, like that's, you need something, like that's craziness. For sure. I mean, it wasn't really until Kinsey in the 50s that people knew anything about sex origins. They really didn't. And that's where we are at now. What did that say? We grew up poor and constantly told to put her down, be quiet. Yeah. Doctors in the 1900s, when you have endo, you have ghosts in your blood. Here's some cocaine, right? Raised in worldwide Church of God, it's no longer. Yeah, it does. It does add on a bit of that, because like my grandmother, she wasn't exactly the she had some developmental delays herself, so it wasn't a situation where my mom had people that, and like her aunt, her only aunt was another Greek lady that came over from the old country where, they didn't have, like, they lived in a little village on an island, it's not a thing. The doctor's things aren't a thing. I have no medical history. It's something that I'm really stressing about now at 37, way more than I did whenever I was younger. Note to self, ask everybody in your family everything about their health. And if they have a problem with it, you tell them your life depends on it, because someday it might. That's my TED Talk. Thank you very much. Continue to watch the rest of this video because I am fun. Thank you. Yeah, it's where they did. They were still dispensing Quaaludes in the 70s. Yeah. You are ill. Let's completely empty of all, but hope for the best. That's like, what was it? Bloodletting. I remember reading about that. remember I was telling you about the book I was reading out loud. Everyone should read it. It's all about women in the cowboy days. They were called witches because they weren't able to have children. So they were infertile. And they called them witches. That's interesting. Yeah. There is a show, like On the Run, Start a Gang, or Rob Banks, et cetera, so good. I am going to have to read that, Lulu. I try to say as many as possible. It's okay. I have to watch PM for doctor. Right. Leeches in hospitals. Yeah. Go to the doctor, get free fiber. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it is just, it's one of those things. It's very irritating to me. The only thing I can say though, for sure, 100%, is that go and ask everybody in your family if they have, and like whenever I say ask them for like medical history, I mean like ask them for symptoms. Did you ever have this? And again, if there's any kind of pushback, the biggest way that I have had to deal with it is to simply say, basically, I know you don't want to talk about it. I know everybody wants to make sure nobody's worried and nobody is worrying about them or about anybody else. However, like my life could actually depend on having proper medical history. So in this case, we found out, for instance, that the endometriosis did run in. Well, we knew that it was genetic, especially once it hit my sister in the same exact way. That kind of solidified it. When I lived in the Cleveland area and went to the Cleveland Clinic and went to an endo specialist up there, they had confirmed it. So that at least helps. And when I was whenever I was done with school that sophomore year, and I went to my doctor and I said, because I'd been on like a couple of clinical trials, they didn't work. We'd maxed out Lupron, and it didn't work either. It barely gave me any kind of relief. So at the end of the day, I didn't have anything left really for her to do other than to continue like the every 90 to 120 days of having a laparoscopic done, going in, burning it out, taking it off of all the places, something like 5 or 6 places. And I think it was 5 places. And I said, well, what's the other option? And she was like, you can do a hysterectomy, or we can just do what we can to keep you out of pain, to do everything. And I always prefer a woman over a male gyna just because I feel like they don't have these organs. So how can they understand? I get that 100%. Better treatment from a male doctor. So here's like I said, and I already kind of explained this, but the biggest difference I found in my female gynecologist as opposed to my, something like eating something. My female gynecologist as opposed to my male gynecologist was simply that when I told the male doctor that like I had pain and I gave him, the stupid 1 through 10 that's so subjective, it's ridiculous anyways. I had told him, and he did not hesitate. Like they didn't hesitate at all anytime. And that's in general. My male doctors don't really seem to hesitate to listen to me as much. I had one that I saw that couldn't manage to, hold on, I can't talk and eyelash at the same time. God forbid. God forbid. But yeah, so my I've noticed that, oh, I like these. Well, they're crazy big. Here's the one my mom's has endofibroids, PCOS, cervical cancer. My mom was the only 4 sisters to not have had a hysterectomy. Yeah, I had my hysterectomy 10 days before my 21st birthday. My doctor's always pretty much been more like suck it up and dismiss any and all endo symptoms. Now, I will say that my doctor, once she had gone in and confirmed what was happening, there was no hesitation from her. I will be forever grateful for her because she basically allowed me to have a little bit of a life in high school and in those first 2 years of college. In borderline, so with them, it's their fault. Just kidding. No, you know what? That's something like we go into, my mom and I go back, like go around with it. Like now I'm fine. I get it. She didn't have the same upbringing. Like if I had a child that was getting those kind of issues and everything, obviously I grew up in a different time with different experiences and am obviously going to would take things a little bit more serious, especially considering that we have a family history. But because of the thank you, these are also the Raw Beauty Christy ones. Which ones are these? Can't Be Bothered. They are the like more like badass ones, because my lovely ones I ripped. And I ripped a pair of which ones are these? My bombshell ones, but my fantastic friend who works for Cure had them. Those two are similar a lot. Oh, that was for the bipolar 2 and borderline. Just had the opposite experience with growing up. They were always male, and the first female guy I saw at 28 was the first person to ever bring it up. And that's where I think the biggest thing. So the female, like whenever you say female practitioner, like your PCP, I think where geographically located makes a difference also. Yeah, it could. It very much so could. Especially if you're near I've noticed if you are going to or treating with an affiliate of a teaching hospital or a like teaching, like some kind of college or school, if you go to those hospitals over ones that don't have any affiliation with any school, I have found that the difference is they don't have as much information, I want to say, about like not current treatments, but they don't have as much, I guess, knowledge. They haven't been like they haven't been up in all the new testing and all the new studies as much, I don't think, because they're not like dealing with all of that all the time. I've noticed that like the school I go to, or not the school I go to, but the hospital I go to now is it's a teaching hospital. It's a part of the teaching hospital. The Cleveland Clinic is affiliated with, it's considered a teaching hospital. What was this one? Quite discouraged. Yep. Yeah, your main doctor. So when I'm reading all these studies, because so I had my hysterectomy at 20, couldn't go on hormone replacement therapy. They kind of had to drop me off of it quickly. The good thing was I had been in pharmaceutical menopause long enough to where when I went into surgical menopause, it wasn't nearly as much of a shock to like my system, even though I was 20. So we are go to dental schools for cleaning because I feel like they're more attentive. Yeah, and honestly, if people don't go to them, who's going to go to them, and how are they going to get out of school and then be dental hygienists? Like, always go to a school if you can, especially like I'll even go at times, depending on what I want done. I might even go to like the hair school for if I just want to trim or if I want to blow out, like go there, get it for, at the time you can get it for like $20 and you're allowing somebody else to get their technique down too at the same time. But that was one of the things that I just noticed is that the teaching hospitals it seemed like they were kind of up on it as far as like new treatments and new testing and new studies that were coming out. So I felt a lot more comfortable. So 20 total hysterectomy, still had diagnoses of PCOS, even though I had no more ovaries, because they took the other ovary too. They could not leave anything because it was so bad. Endometriosis is actually, it kind of acts in a way like cancer, like the cell, if they didn't get all the cells or anything, like they can travel to other parts of your body. There are people that had like, what was that I was reading? There was like endometriosis in somebody's nostril. It was like in somebody's stomach and somebody's lungs. So it's a crazy thing. But as far as everything goes, like I am still in a situation where even looking back, like I would still do the same thing. My doctor made me go through evaluations and everything before I was able to have my total hysterectomy, because that was a big thing. Do you feel that there's more attention on endo, as in between then and now, or on endo as opposed to PCOS? Yeah, so young to have. Yeah, endometriosis. Yeah, like I said, there are some really crazy things that can happen where I don't even know really how to explain all the things. So for those of you that are going to watch this later, and maybe you don't know I'll be 38 in June. No way. Yeah, I had my hysterectomy 17 years ago on February 7th. So that is 17, 18. I had it when I was 20. I wasn't yet 21, but I was going to be 21 that year. Yeah, 17 years ago. Nope, 16 years ago. The math. Why? Yeah, I could definitely travel. It's very strange as far as that goes. It's unclear if it travels or if it's just produced just out of the, yeah, it can, it's like weird. there. Between then and now, 100% there is more awareness. There's more attention being given to it. There are studies being done. The biggest thing that they're working on currently is diagnostics, because again, they can do whatever they need to do. They can tell you that they think you might have it. They can try all the treatments that they want, but if they don't go in and actually look, it is impossible to, like, there is no test that detects it. So some of the symptoms that people can have are things like pain in the pelvis. It can be specific to like just before, or and then like get better after, because everything kind of like swells, gets inflamed and everything. Anti-inflammatories are a big form of treatment. You can have like painful intercourse. You can have cramping. You can have cramping or pain when you're going to the restroom. Infertility is, if I know a lot of people have found out, for instance, they or they had been like struggling to conceive, to get pregnant, and then found out through certain tests, basically, that they had it. And certain, like whenever they go in, I guess there is, like they can go in, I think, and do, what is it, an ablation, I believe. With an ablation, I think that that's like if they go in to like kind of clear out like scar tissue or anything along those lines as a way to help somebody get somebody conceive, they like end up, they can find it during that procedure. So a lot of people can kind of do that. So let me, because we are in that part and I'm kind of basically done at this point as far as my eyes go. Okay, now in order for me to do this, because that's a very good question and that's a very good answer. So back in the day, that was basically what they told you. They said if you have a hysterectomy, all the pain goes away. I will say that as far as the endometriosis goes, I do not have I do not have any. I just want to be able to see your like see the chat while I am showing. I'm just trying to help you cover all the things. Yeah. Well, because that's the thing. There are so many things. And one of the biggest links that I had found is, I'm going to share screen. Nope, Chrome tag. Okay. So, okay, you guys can see all the things. Okay. This website in particular is by far one of the best ones out there, and it's super easy because it has it's just simply endometriosis.org. It'll be listed in the thing. So one of the, okay, so getting ahead of myself. In my notes. Okay. So they have things like your news. So anything new that's going on, any opinion, any research and treatments that are new. They also have support groups. They have different resources all the way down to like self-help books. They have a full-blown list of like symptoms, causes, diagnosis, infertility, adhesions, treatments, all of the different treatments that are out there currently, as well as the different types, what is or isn't being used anymore. This one has like a thing for what you decide that it wants. Okay, so the website has this called First Consultation that, make sure that, okay. So this is something that's really awesome that they provide at this website, and it helps a lot as well because you have things like all the questions that they might ask you when you go, any kind of, if you look here, medical history is right there. Any kind of allergies, it kind of gives you a heads up so that you're ready and you waste very little time with your doctor at that point, because you're going to have all the information. For that matter, you can always like send it to them ahead of time, but you can have this ready to go. You've already gone through. It also gives you a chance to kind of ask your family, because like I said, that's a big deal. But that's one of my favorite things that I think that I had found. I wish I would have had that whenever I was younger, and going through this for the first time. But here, this is where the this is where my doctor had sent me, because I was really, this is now years. This was in 2013. So I had my surgery in 2004, 2004. 2004, 2005. I really, math is not my thing today. I'm tired. I'm stressed. Whatever it was, when I was 20, I had my surgery. So in 2013, I went to the doctor at the Cleveland Clinic, and they sent me here because I was telling them, I was like, I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm dealing with. This is where I was blown away. So they have all these associations, all of these groups that work in all the different countries. There are ones, you have the Endometriosis Network, and it's out of Toronto. However, the let me, like this one, for instance, for you, Evie, that one in particular is for Canada. They have, because I don't know that I put the Canada ones in there. I think I put UK in the description box. I will put the Canada ones in there, but they have everything. And then here down at the bottom, I'm trying not to make everybody sick with scrolling super quick. But here down at the bottom, you have Endometriosis UK, and it's out of London. You have the Endometriosis Foundation of America. You have the Endometriosis Research Center, and you have the Endometriosis Association, all in different parts of the country. And they all have resources. All of their websites have resources. They have people that can answer questions. They have sections like this that say and give more information. So if you're trying to explain to a loved one what is wrong, even like if your doctor has given you the diagnosis and you are trying to either understand it yourself more, because that's kind of where I am. is trying to figure out more about all the things. I need to have a list of questions for my doctor's appointment on the 18th. Tina, that if you go to the website here, it's in the description, go to treatments and then first consultation. At the very least, you can have that PDF that was like, I don't know, like 8 pages, something like that. But the other thing is that read through this section, this FAQ, the frequently asked questions section, and they have so many different things on there to where you can see, like here it says, like, how is endometriosis diagnosed? The only way to diagnose is during a laparoscopy, which is a small surgical procedure. They do say, however, many physicians are able to, and it has diagnosed in quotes, which is when the doctors treat it more along the lines like fibromyalgia, especially back in the day whenever it was like, I'm in all this pain, I don't know what's wrong. And they would just be like, oh, you got fibro, here you go, have a nice day. That's basically at least to where we've kind of gotten, which I don't know that I think is a good thing, but that's kind of neither here nor there. Because I think that if it gets misdiagnosed enough, that's going to do just as much damage as right now when it's not being diagnosed enough. But you can go in here and click like the links underneath. So it'll say like more about the surgical procedure or more about how to diagnosis. Now here it'll say like, is there a cure for endometriosis? No. That is probably the hardest thing to get people to stop spreading, is saying things like, I'm on this and it cured me, because you never really get away with it. Pregnancy doesn't cure it. This tab with myths and misconceptions, it explains, basically, it gives you more ammo so that when you are talking to somebody else or when somebody is talking to you and they say things that either, and again, the only reason I'm so passionate about it is that I truly believe that misinformation is just as bad as lack of information, because it can turn things down a whole nother thing. But here it says, for instance, somebody had tweeted me earlier and said theirs didn't develop, they didn't start having pain until well after they had their until after they had their second child. And they had, the other person that had commented on their comment had said, wait, I thought pregnancy cured it. And I was like, unfortunately, no. So down here, it says hysterectomy does not cure endometriosis because it is defined as endometrial, like tissue outside the uterus. Removing the uterus and or the ovaries without removing the endometriotic implants outside of the uterus will not get rid of the symptoms. Like I said, I've managed to not have any of those issues anymore, thankfully. It is, it's hard. It's hard to know, but in the same sense, I am glad I am where I am today. I'm happy as far as my family goes. I can't have children of my, like, biological children of my own. However, I have amazing friends who have little squishy babies that I get to play auntie to. I also am blessed enough to have a stepson, and he's my bonus kid. I call him the best wedding gift I've ever gotten. So because of that, I'm able, I think, to accept a lot of things. But the biggest thing to remember is that it's normal to not feel like, or to not understand, I guess, what's going on. Let me go ahead and drop this off there now. It's normal to be irritated that doctors aren't taking you seriously. It's normal to be in that situation where you don't know what's going on. You're still waiting on answers, because believe me, even at this point, 17 years out. Okay. Even at this point, so now I'm running into other things, and I've been really digging back into endometriosis when I never thought that I would, because I kind of thought that I had closed that chapter, brought it up once a year, or like once a year, really, I really pulled it all out and talked to people about it. And then the rest of the year, I kind of keep my ears open. So if I hear somebody that is like, oh yeah, I had this and I had this and I had this, I'm like, do you ever get tested for this? Like, I automatically go into, especially with endometriosis or polycystic, because those things are they were made such a huge impact on my life. So I like automatically go into like almost like diagnostic mode. I'm like, I'll ask you all the questions. You can ask Lulu. I questioned the crap out of her the other day. Nothing at all whatsoever is more important than taking notes before you go. Make sure you have notes. Make sure you have specific like questions, because even now, especially with everything that's going on with you, Tina, because it's so much easier because you're back in the office and you are having yet another appointment and you're talking to the doctors yet again about the two lip thingies that I put on are not meshing. I need to wipe that on my other shirt, because I'm like, oh, that was awful. They did not mix. Note to self, Glossier, ColourPop, and Lunar Beauty. They like make that weird thing on your lips where they get like almost like gummy. Anyways, what I was saying, the biggest thing is to make sure that you answer, or you get all your answer, because like that is like, don't let them rush you out. And if they want to rush you out, then like I just wouldn't. I'd be like, no, I still have questions, like here, and then hand them the paper, and maybe they can get you the answers. But definitely take questions. It is okay to not be okay, and that's the thing. Like I can handle it. Like I handle it. I have thrown now. Well, actively thrown, or actually like thrown, two baby showers. Had one that I was in the process of throwing, and then the Rona hit. So that was super fun. But yeah, I usually try not to dwell on it, because I got a lot of things. I've been through a lot of things, and I feel like I can help a lot more people now. You know what I mean? It's like it's no different than anything else. If you go through something, even if it is something tragic, then you can dwell on it as something bad, or you can turn it into something good, or you can turn it into something that could help others not go through, or supporting others through it, which is the biggest thing with the different endo networks too. Hashtag Endo Warrior is a good one. Endometriosis Awareness Week begins on Monday. It is on that main website. There are different things as far as like they're doing a lot of like virtual talks and things like that all week next week. The whole month of March, you'll find things everywhere, but specifically next week. I think Endo being back is the only thing that makes sense with whatever I've been dealing with. It's a possibility, and I only really say that because you still have, even with a floating ovary, and I know why they do it, because they don't want to throw people's hormones off too bad, but it's definitely possible. I hope not, but then again, I kind of hope that it is, so that you know what's wrong, because I know how it is to not have answers. But endometriosis is now classified apparently as an autoimmune disorder, which I did not know. That was new information that I did not know until recently. They're doing a lot of studies because there are a lot of connections to other diagnoses. So make sure, if you do get treated, if your symptoms go away and you're in remission, because again, can come back, that you keep an eye on it, that you keep an eye on the rest of your health as well, and make sure that you always tell your doctor, basically, like make sure that's one of your primary diagnoses, especially if you still have any part of your uterus or ovaries. Jenny, what doing? Can we not sniff at that door like there's somebody on the other side? Okay, thank you. But a lot of the treatments can cause like issues with bones. So like a lot of my arthritis is like coming from both the fact that I had basically been on estrogen blockers nearly my entire life. And then, I was on them from like 13 on. And then I had my surgery, 13 or 14 on. And then I had my surgery because they started me on some of them for the PCOS. So I'm not really sure, but I just kind of wanted to give my story, my experience, share my resources, share the fact that if you are having issues, if you have been told that you're if you have been told, for instance, that you should be okay with just an ibuprofen, I cannot tell you how much to like run and like get somebody new, find a specialist. If you have to call around, you can call a lot of those organizations will be able to direct you to like a list of their specialists. They have specialists all over the country. We had some that we had worked with back when I was younger in like Chicago, and I think it was San Francisco. I just know we worked with people out, and then we worked with people right outside of or right in Pittsburgh too. But there are a lot of different things out there. There are different treatments out there that are supposedly I get it. There are a lot of different things out there. There's more knowledge, but the biggest thing is that there's not enough data. There's not enough data. There aren't enough diagnoses as far as people being diagnosed, they're being misdiagnosed. The diagnosis is coming 5 years down the road, but they're telling people, yeah, you have it now. And they're like, but I've had all these symptoms all this time, but there's no data to back that up. So when they're going and they're doing studies and they're trying to correlate it with other disorders or other ailments, they're running into a lot of walls with that, with a lack of complex or data heavy surgical notes. Like mine had stage 4 endometriosis found in this spot, this spot, this spot. It had a lot of the measurements and everything. However, there are some doctors that cannot stress this one enough. Do not let your primary care physician brush you off. Don't even go there. Go to your gynecologist if you don't like yours. If yours hasn't said anything, find a new one, because they're not going to be able to help you at your primary care physician. Though they will send you to a gastro doctor or to like a colorectal doctor before they'll even take any kind of cramping seriously, unfortunately. At least that's how it's been. That's how I've seen. Thank you for listening. And I know it was blabbery. I know I had all the things, and I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out and listening. This is the thing right here. Okay, where am I at? So this is why I sit here and like I'm near crying, but because I'm trying to get this camera to work, and I didn't move around a whole lot today, so it helped. It didn't go like too much of a thing. But I enjoy the chats. I enjoy, especially like something like today, I was like, I could cancel it and then reschedule it. And if I reschedule it, I could do it on the 8th, and then it would be, this, that, and the other. But I would rather come back on the 8th and literally just sit here and do like a question and answer, or like bring other people on to tell their experiences, to share more experiences with it this week than I would to cancel today and take up another day. When we could be doing so much more. It's not even a little bit of an overstatement when I say the more people talking about it, the more people sharing the hashtags, sharing articles that you find. That's why I love those websites that are in the description box. There are a bunch of them, and I have a bunch more that I'm going to add. I didn't know if StreamYard was going to throw a limit at me, so I didn't want to do that. I'm so glad the GI doctor, after one comment, was like, yeah, I don't think I can help you. Exactly. I have been through, they had put me through an upper and a lower GI and all those things when they were trying to figure out my pain and everything before my mom apparently thought that I was somehow the Virgin Mary that managed to get pregnant when I hadn't had sex yet. So, because my period disappeared for over. This was super important. Thank you. I am, I was quiet, but I was taking it all in. And that's fun. That's what I want. That's the big thing. Like I said, I just want to be able to help somebody, because even if I help you, or if you're here and say you're like, no, I'm good, I don't got no problems, but then you have a sister that has those issues, then maybe now you can say, hey, you know what? I saw this crazy lady on YouTube. And she was doing some crazy yellow endometriosis awareness eyeshadow. And she was talking about exactly what you're talking about. So maybe, possibly, that can help somebody else too. But the biggest thing is just, well, finding these clips. The biggest thing is just not being ashamed of talking about it, anything like that. Yeah, Tina, that's a fun one. That's a extra fun one. But yeah, that's the biggest thing I would say is just like keeping the dialogue open, asking other people if you know somebody else that had it. Because like I said, I'm not the end all be all of it. I had a extreme kind of situation too, because like I said, my mom, she had some problems with fertility because she didn't have my sister for 9 years. However, she got pregnant with me whenever she was in her early 20s. I want to say she was 21 or 22 maybe. And then she eventually, had my sister and had no clue until they did her tubal that she even had it. And then it was like 9 years later that she had found out, after it was later after that, because like I said, I was like 15, 6 years later. So it was like 6.5 years later that she had gone and gone to my doctor after we'd already been talking about it and found out that she had it. She had no clue, and she had no real symptoms. So everybody's different. PCOS is just as much of a bitch, and a lot of times I feel as though people will kind of get diagnosed with one, but then maybe not the other, because like maybe they'll get PCOS because it's easier to detect. It has tests. That kind of stuff does show up on different scans. However, and it does cause pain a lot. It does cause pain at certain times of the month or within the cycle a lot. It can, like, they can almost, what is that called? Like camouflage each other. So I feel like if you even know somebody with PCOS and like the treatments they're on aren't working well, then, go to the doctor. Like that should be the biggest thing, is like not telling people or like encouraging people, because I get it. I'm tired of going to the doctors. So, other than that, Doodle, can we not? Can we not? Stop it. We're almost done. She is licking her paw. I looked at her paw. There's nothing wrong with it, but she's licking it because of whatever reason. So it's not a refreshing patient. People come in room because it's an embarrassing test. At this point, if I'm going in for a test like that, I'm like, how many times has somebody else had to go through this same exact test? I just need to get through it at that point. But yeah, do the things. Oh God, I feel bad for anybody that is watching this on the replay, to the point where like I may like sit down tomorrow and just like compress it all and have both of them up, still have this one up with all the questions, and still have, and like maybe have one that's like not all over the place with dogs and all the things. But if I did that, it wouldn't be one of my streams either. So there we go. But exactly, why not? Yep. So do the YouTubey things, share with your friends, do, what is it? Subscribe, hit the like, ring the bell. There we go. And until next time, I will see you then. And I will, like I said, I will be back like this week multiple times, not just the week, my Saturday that I've apparently just stuck with though. So it's been real. Thank you guys so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for being so supportive and for sharing your experiences with me too. It really makes a difference. And I'm hoping that everything gets worked out for everybody. But until